Coming off of one of the biggest events already of 2021 and the greatest pay-per-view name in the history of combat sports, KnuckleMania, I am proud to talk once again one of my favorite people in the sport, BKFC president Dave Feldman. Of course, Dave, obviously you just announced BKFC 16. We're going to talk about that in a second, but let me start with KnuckleMania. What an incredible night of fights. What an incredible card. Production, everything was fantastic. Congratulations on an amazing show.
Thanks, Damon. Yeah, as a whole, man, we are so happy at everything, the way it panned out. You couldn't have scripted it any better. The celebrities in attendance, the fanfare, the fights were just absolutely amazing. Everything went as planned. Obviously, the main event, we invested a lot into Paige VanZant, and I think that she showed up and fought really, really well. And I think that we can really build upon that, but we'll get into that.
Yeah. Now, I know that there was a lot of buzz. Obviously, we covered it. We saw the buzz online. We saw the reaction on social media. I'm not going to ask you, although if you want to tell me, feel free. But can you kind of give me an idea how well did that pay-per-view do? Because I know the reaction online was pretty massive.
Yeah, it did good for us. It's going to hit six figures. Don't know where that's going to end up, but that's a pretty good number for us. Right now for, where we are in this stage. That's a good number. It was a good event for us. It was a profitable event. Everything went very, very well for us. So all around, it was just a very, very good ending for us in that event.
Yeah. Let me ask you about Paige, because obviously she was, she was going to be the center of attention. She was the main event. She was a big signing for you guys. She came out and had a battle, and you said, you told me, there was not going to be any easy fights. You were going to, give her tough fights. And obviously Britain Hart was a very tough fight, and Britain went out there and performed. I thought Paige actually had her best round in the fifth. It seemed like she kind of settled in and kind of understood, what it was like to fight Bare-Knuckle by that fifth round. And that was her best round, but kind of give me your thoughts on her performance and her debut in BKFC.
I thought she did good. Look, everybody thinks that they can fight Bare-Knuckle until they fight Bare-Knuckle at the beginning. So they get in there and they don't, it's different. It's a lot different for them. So I think it just took her a little bit of time to adapt. And once she adapted, that's what I was happy about. Once she adapted, she looked phenomenal. She came on strong at the end and she put on a great performance. That's why I can very confidently say Paige VanZant absolutely will be back with us here in the early to midsummer, 100%. So she's, we are 100% in the Paige VanZant business. We like being in that business. She delivered for us on every aspect we needed and finished the fight strong. So that was very important for us. Had she started the fight very fast and not finished strong and went a whole different direction, then, it could have been a different conversation. But she finished strong, showed the heart she had and that she could adapt to this sport, and she did. And we're happy of the performance. Obviously, she wanted to come out on top, but look, at this stage, we have a chance where we can use Paige VanZant again in another fight and try to build her in the sport still. And we were able to, if you will, give birth to a new star now. So I think Britain Hart, her performance and her post-fight interview and everything else about her, I think we can build our own star now with her.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the timeline for Paige's return. I'm sure you saw right after the fight, she had done an interview and she said that, she was already asking to come back in April. She's already fired up and wants to fight. Kind of a two-part question. You mentioned kind of the timeline for her to return. Is that you said late spring, early summer with Paige? Does it make you kind of, understand or feel justified in not only signing her, but knowing that she's serious about this, the fact that she's already so fired up about coming back, in April? She's like, I want to fight right away.
No, again, look, I don't think she knew what to expect with Bare-Knuckle. I know she liked the company and we had a great relationship. And once she found out what it was, that's like I said in all my interviews, and I know to you, I said, I really take my hat off to her because she didn't have to do this. Now I take my hat off to her even more because she definitely doesn't have to do this again. And she's doing it. And she really wants to prove herself. And that's, the kind of person that, I want to be in business with, the kind of person that I have a lot of respect for. So I can't wait to see what she's going to do. And I think she's going to adapt a lot more. And I think she's going to really take a step up in her next fight.
Yeah, and I imagine, in terms of opponents, I mean, I know nothing's determined yet, but I imagine, you want to give her another matchup to get her out there, obviously, but it's going to be a big fight. And, obviously you've invested a lot in her, so you're going to make it a big fight. We saw the magnitude of this pay-per-view, and I assume it's going to be something similar for her next fight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure we have the opponent. We're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's on this one. It's another well-known name. And I think that, the public's really going to get behind this one. And I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. So I'll definitely break that with you, Damon, 100%. But I'll let you know probably next week when we have that one secured. But yeah, man, I mean, look, some people looked at me crazy and said, you're paying her too much. You're doing this, you're doing that. I said, look, I don't know everything, but I know what I'm doing on this stuff. And she delivered. She delivered on every aspect that we needed her to deliver on, and she delivered, and she was worth everything that we gave her. And, it's a great partnership. She did everything that we wanted her to do, and we did everything that she wanted us to do. So that's how you really scale up in business, by having win-win relationships. And we have definitely a win-win relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And now with Britain Hart, of course, she came out on the other side of that. She kind of, got her own star power coming out. She looked great. I mean, obviously, Paige came back in the 5th round, but Britain had a great performance up till then, and still stayed tough in that 5th round. And we knew what Britain was made of. Obviously, with her fight with Beck Rawlings and her last win and everything, she had proven that she's a legit fighter in BKFC. But now you have kind of another star in your hands, and I imagine you want to build on that. And I wanted to ask you, the post-fight interaction, I'm sure you saw the interview we did with Britain afterwards, and I'm quoting here, by the way, Jenny Savage coming in, and she said, looking like some random ass prostitute, which I had to laugh at that one. But what is next for Britain Hart?
Look, first I want to go on record by saying the company had nothing to do with that at all. The girl jumped in the ring and wanted, to cause some trouble and get her shot. We had nothing to do with that, because, look, I like the promo. I like all the stuff that we do, but that was like a time where, look, Britt did something great. She did something phenomenal. She beat Paige VanZant in a very good fight, and she deserved her moment. So to have someone come in and crash her moment, she didn't deserve that. So we had nothing to do with that. But on the other hand, maybe that's a matchup that we're definitely looking at. We're definitely looking at that. We're looking at some other matchups too, because there was a very exciting women's fight that opened up our pay-per-view card. So there's a lot of options out there. I do think that Britt is buildable. One thing she has to do is she needs to just keep training, keep staying focused, and do what she has to do. And once she does that, I think that she has a really great future here as well.
Yeah, and I know it's not going to happen the next fight, but obviously the magnitude of this one, kind of like what you did with Artem and Jason Knight, that was such a great fight the first time around. It's almost like you have to revisit that, 2 or 3 more times potentially, just because how fun that was. I know Paige said she doesn't deserve Britain Hart right away. She wants to earn her way back to Britain Hart, and I'm sure Britain Hart said the same thing eventually. Do you think there's a possibility down the road we could see that rematch?
I mean, there could be. Look, if Paige comes out and wins, in a good match that we're going to propose to her pretty soon, which I think it's a winnable fight for her, and Britt comes out and wins one of her fights, it could line up. It could set that up. But we're building this thing from the ground up, as you know, and you've been a great supporter of us. We're getting a lot of interest now. So we're getting a lot of people coming to fight for us. So could that happen? Yeah. But could there be other possibilities? Yeah, there could be a lot of other possibilities too, because it just seems like every fighter in the world almost wants to fight for Bare-Knuckle FC now. It's crazy, but that's kind of, where it is right now. So there's going to be a lot of options for both girls. So we'll see what happens. Look, if the I always say this, if the fans want to see it, we'll give it to them.
Absolutely. And Shaquille O'Neal, I mean, talk about a guy who became a fan of BKFC. How awesome was that?
Yeah, man, he's just such a great guy. Talk to him a lot. He's a good guy. He likes what we're doing. He wants to be involved with what we're doing. And, we're going to see what happens here in the next couple of weeks, but it looks like, hopefully that he's going to be a part of a really important part of our growth.
I love it. And obviously overall, KnuckleMania was a tremendous success. Dad to win. tremendous fight with Johnny Bedford. I got to be honest. I would love to see that one again. That was a tremendous fight. Of course, Chris Lieben had his retirement fight. That was tremendous. I talked to Chris last night. He's looking forward to working with BKFC going into the future. I mean, the entire card was so much fun. You mentioned the women's fight at the start of the card. That was so crazy. That was such a crazy battle. I mean, again, you can't script these things out when you're making the card. You can only hope it plays out, but you got to be happy with the entire way KnuckleMania played out.
Well, Damon, it's phenomenal. I mean, I'm super happy. But you know what's funny about this sport is I think this sport more than any other combat sport is you want to see the rematches because all the fights are just amazing. Like that should be a rematch. That should be a rematch. And I second with you. Like the girls' fight could be a phenomenal rematch. Datin Nguyen versus Johnny Bedford could be a phenomenal rematch. Britton Hart versus Paige VanZant could be a phenomenal rematch. There's just a lot of good matchups that we put together that could end up being great rematches as we're going down the road. But we're so happy at the way KnuckleMania ended. I give credit to my son David. He picked the name out, so he gets credit for that. And it just went. It went with what it was. It was supposed to be the biggest event of the year. It looks like it's going to be one of the biggest events of the year, and everything about it was phenomenal. From the attendance to we got everybody in there that we were allowed to fit with the social distancing and COVID restrictions, and we had a very big celebrity fanfare there. So we're very, very happy.
Absolutely. And then building off the back of that, of course, you just announced BKFC 16 in Mississippi. Another great card, Leonard Garcia making his return against Joe Elmore. And, of course, Reggie Barnett, who, of course, we saw, he made a brief appearance at KnuckleMania as well, taking on DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley, another big fight. And I got to imagine, I don't want to take attention away from the main event, but I got to imagine that fight in the bantamweight division, are we looking at a potential number one contenders fight? I know Johnny Bedford, I'm sure he would love to get that immediate rematch, but that is a fun fight as well in terms of the bantamweight division.
No, absolutely. We're going to see how that one pans out. If there's no injuries or something like that, that could definitely be a good one. Datin Nguyen and Chop Chop Corley have a little beef with each other too. So if Chop Chop was to win that one, that it could go that direction. We know that Reggie Barnett has a lot of beef with Datin Nguyen and is a great fighter. So that could be another exciting one too. It's just every division is really starting to heat up with some excitement. So really, no matter how it pans out, I think we have some really great matches coming down the road.
Yeah, and that bantamweight division, I tell you built all the divisions, Dave, but that bantamweight division is getting really deep. Like that's becoming one of the deepest divisions in BKFC.
That I think that and the heavyweights. The heavyweights, we're getting a lot of heavyweight talent coming to us now too. But we're really getting a lot of talent. It's it's amazing. I have some really top pro boxers that hit me up in the past 2 weeks. We're going to make the transition here. We're just we're going through some restructuring that we're doing internally, and we're about to really blast off now, Damon.
Absolutely. And then that main event, Leonard Garcia, we know what that guy brings to the table. Obviously, big debut for him. He fell short against Jim Ehlers. No, there's no shame in that whatsoever. And then Joe Elmore, another one. This seems like listen, Leonard Garcia doesn't understand the meaning of a boring fight. So I think you could throw him in there with a brick wall and it would probably end up being an exciting fight. But again, you're talking about a great main event right there.
100%. You know what it is? It's just, I always say that I want the best fights for the fans, and they have to be exciting fights. And this fight is excitement written all over it. Joe Elmore versus Leonard Garcia is going to be one exciting fight. Who knows who's going to win? The good thing is they're both willing to come out and fight their asses off, and they're both willing to fall on their shields. So that's what's so amazing about that. And then in our feature fight, we also do have the first ever BKFC heavyweight champ coming back, Arnold Adams, and he'll be doing battle with Bobo Vannon, who looked sensational in his first fight, beating Mike Kyle, and then he got knocked out by Sam Shoemaker. So just so many exciting fights on this card. I'm really, really excited to get back to Biloxi and see this one, and then move forward to the the next couple of shows, April 30th, May 14th, June, July. It's really, really crazy for us right now, Damon, and it's a good, happy, crazy right now.
Absolutely. It's funny. I said to Chris Lieben last night, I said, Chris, did you ever imagine, your career would end with doing Bare-Knuckle? And he said, I never imagined doing Bare-Knuckle, but he was saying, it's kind of crazy in just the small amount of time the BKFC has been around. the kind of attention and you know, the kind of fanfare you have built around the organization. And obviously it all kind of culminated with KnuckleMania, but you got to be proud. I know we kind of have the same conversation every time we do an interview, but it's true. The growth of the organization, man, it just seems like every time we talk, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's got to be even more amazing to you, considering, you know, listen, it took the UFC a long time to become, you know, kind of a household brand, and BKFC in a very short amount of time has really built itself into a huge player in the combat sports space.
No, 100%. I mean, we're very, very excited. This was actually the first event ever where I just stepped back for a few minutes. I stepped back. I was up top, and I just looked, and I'm like, man, we fucking really built something special. It's unbelievable, because we're working so fast and so hard, and it's going so fast. You never get a chance to look at what you're doing. You know, you can't taste your own cooking because you're cooking so many different things. But this time I did, and I'm really, really happy with where we're at. I mean, you know, it's amazing. And, you know, when we did this first show, my investment partner, I told him, I said, look, man, go big or go home. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. But he had to write the check. And now he's like, you're right, man, go big or go home. Had we not ran out of the starting blocks, like sprinted out of the starting blocks, I don't think we would be where we're at today. And I think someone would have caught us. But I don't care how much money someone comes in with right now. I think it's going to be very hard to catch us in this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave, thank you as always for taking the time. Looking forward to BKFC 16 coming up. KnuckleMania was amazing. I keep saying it over and over again. The greatest name for a pay-per-view in history. Give credit to your son, because I love that name. And I look forward to talking to you about Paige's next fight and everything else coming up. But thank you as always for taking the time for me. I really do appreciate it.
As always, man, really appreciate everything you do. Thank you.